So here I am, back day 3. So I came out and I've been out here for about an hour and a half, no more than that, probably about 2 hours. Faffing about, taking the wheel apart, putting it back together, taking the disc off, putting it back on, trying the disc from the back. And I decided I'd do it off camera because it's just going to be boring as shit for everyone else. Just all the constant faffing about that I was doing. And I finally figured out that the problem all along was the spacers. The spacers are not evenly lengthed, and so they were pushing the disc out at weird ass angles where one of them was longer and some of them were shorter. And no matter what I did, obviously it was never going to line up and be even, because it was always going to be pushed out by one of the spacers. So I have wasted 3 days of my life, well 2 I suppose, but on 3 separate days, spread across 3 days, faffing about with this because the spacers were machined unevenly. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but I can from here, these two at the end, whoops, he said knocking one out, are longer than the others. And that was the cause of the problem. The spacers were not correct. Well, that was a pain in the fucking arse, wasn't it? I discovered it when I decided I wanted to see if putting the rear disc on, or the rear rotor, made any difference. And it did. And I put it on without bothering to use the spacers. And I suddenly thought, oh, I wonder if that was what did it. So I put the front one on without using the spacers, and yes. It's not perfect because there is a slight unevenness in this rotor now. I think it might have arrived a little wonky, but even if it didn't arrive wonky, it was certainly wonky by the time I was finished fucking about with it. But the issue, absolutely 100%, was the spacers. So I am in 2 minds as to whether to bother completing the job. I have a new rotor on its way that in theory should arrive today, or should have arrived today. But I would like to just get the job done, but it's all going to have to be redone. In the process of it, the inner tube has in some way been damaged. I think that it's probably the valve has kicked the bucket. So I need a new inner tube, another new inner tube. So this has been a real pain in the arse to do. What should have been a fairly simple job has been an absolute pain in the jack seat. Predominantly, as I say, because the spacers were out. And so no matter what I did, it was never going to be correct. So yeah, that needs screwing down maybe a little more, just to firm it up a bit more. For the final nip down, go opposites. That's good and solid. Let's see how that is now. I'll put this in. There we go. It's not perfect. There's still, I would say, about a millimetre. Sorry about that, battery died. Okay, so I've faffed about with a bit more, lining up the caliper and the wheel in situ. That works just fine. And now when you use the brake, that works really nicely. And it was an absolute piece of piss to do the moment I removed the spacer. So they absolutely were the problem. It took me 10 minutes maybe, once I didn't have the spacers involved, for everything to then just sort of get the geometry right. All that time faffing about, it was the spacers. So I have a new disc coming, but to be honest, looking at this one, It's all right. There's very little in the way of wobble in it. It's a tiny bit off axis, I think. It's hard to say because the edge of the rotor is sort of rippled anyway. It's hard to say if it's properly off axis or if it's just the ripple showing up as it spins. But yeah, as I say, the moment I ditched the spacers, it became a really easy job. So I'm finding that, yes, that's what the spacers are for. That I'm needing to clamp it down a bit more, that there is some lateral motion in the disc when under braking, that it will sort of rotate about the axis a bit. It's hard to explain, that the disc itself will actually shift a little bit. Let me see if I can film it. Might be a weird ass angle. There we go. Oh, it'll be interesting to see what happens having moved it and put it back in, if I'm going to need to fuck with the geometry again of the caliper, or if it really is, it's now that it's right, or if it'll just be a little bit out. Tiny bit of rubbing. There we go. So if let me grab my, no, it's indoors, damn it. I'll grab my other headlamp. There we go. So when it's under braking, okay, it's not really, yeah, you can see a little bit that it moves around. To be honest, I'm not sure the spacers would really prevent that. Maybe they would. You can see it does shift about a bit. Yeah, maybe a spacer will prevent it from being able to shift down a little in any given direction. But generally, that is really good. As I say, so much easier the moment the spacers weren't involved. So I think I need to have a conversation with the chap who makes this kit. No, that's not clamping enough. That will never hold. If I can move that with my hand at all, that's not enough clamping force. Sake, what now? No. I'm going to need to adjust this a bit. Yeah, well, there we go. All that time spent faffing about, all that time, sorry, you were all bored watching me. That was the problem. At least I have an answer now. Oh, that's better. That feels much better. And it feels better at the lever end as well. Like there's actually some tension in there now. Right, I'd say that job is essentially done. So I'm going to need an inner tube. I do have a spare one. It's just getting a bit late in the day. I've got some things I wanted to do this afternoon or this evening, and I want some time to sort of wind down and get ready for that. Otherwise I'd put the inner tube, just sort of put the spare inner tube on just to go for a ride, to test it and show you guys. So I think, frustratingly, that's going to have to wait until tomorrow, but I'm still bringing you along for the ride. So I'm going to call it there, and I'll catch up with you all tomorrow, which will be in a click when this restarts. Sorry. Right, catch you in a bit. Okay, it's not the next day, but me being me, I couldn't not do anything. I've just vaguely started on the rear wheel. I've wrapped two sort of sections of insulating tape around the hub, the centre of the hub of the rear wheel, to hold the space. It's not a spacer, whatever you would call this. It's a good. It came bolted to the rear rotor. I don't know if it needs to be on it or not. But it will work nicely, obviously, for lining up, measuring, drilling out the holes. So this is a 3mm drill bit, and I think it needs a 4mm hole, but a 4mm drill bit will destroy those. Destroy the threading in this, let's call it another spacer. Everything's a spacer. And so what I'm going to do is literally just drill north and south, then I'll take it out, drill it out to the 4mm. That should be enough for the screw to go through, and I'll screw it into place using those from the other side, then drill out all the rest. Fuck, it moved. Right, that means I will drill out that first hole entirely, bolt it into place, and then drill out from there. Wow, that's incredibly thin. But that's going to need a 5mm hole. So I just got a message from the guy who makes the kit. He says he's going to send me some more spacers, so I know to put them on my caliper, measure them all up, and use the 6 that are the closest in length. Damn, that's an entirely different Allen key size again. Not that one. That one. So I'll put this into super gentle mode. So instead of having it able to really screw the thing down to death, I just want it to be quite gentle. That's enough just to hold it in place while I drill out the other holes. Yeah, it's that gentle I can't even remove the drill bit.